Soul relationships are based on heart virtues. You know the truth of this in your cells. The heart virtues of love within you, compassion within you, inclusiveness within you, joy within you, group determination within you, generosity within you, within all beings. Heart virtues. Soul-based relationships, because they're rooted in the heart, they are resilient and they are long-term. And by long-term, I mean they go beyond the big life transitions. They endure. They go beyond lifetimes. They have a quality of stability. They are stable because they're stable in love. They're stable in the nourishment they provide. They have a sustaining vibration. These soul-based relationships see us through. Here's a metaphor. Soul-based relationships, friendships, think of them like the solar system. So there's planets and the sun, and they're all in harmony. They are floating. They are in this nourishing, cohesive collaboration. Okay, so soul relationships, like the solar system. Now, ego friendships, ego relationships are like comets hurling through that solar system. They're breaking through. They're very erratic. They're fleeting and temporary, and they bring havoc and destruction. Soul relationships are containers for growth on all levels. And I mean multidimensional growth. Your soul is growing as a result of what you give and receive in that relationship. Soul relationships expand our consciousness. This is why we're here. Soul relationships move us towards higher love, capital higher, capital love, towards inclusive love. Soul relationships, this is so beautiful, lead us towards group service. They make us better people. We become more inclusive, more attentive to all sentient beings around us. So here's another metaphor. Think of soul relationships as a landscape on which we grow virtues and love to nourish everyone involved. These amazing relationships we have are like farms for love. And that which we grow in that space nourishes our souls and everybody around us. They make us better people. And the bonus is that soul relationships help us to balance out our karmic patterns because we're doing good, deep, healing work. We clean some stuff up in these relationships. So, you know where I'm headed with this. So naturally, soul relationships are not always comfortable. They might not look how you expect a quote unquote soul relationship to look. Growth typically happens through friction. We also know this. And that friction is going to push us into those shadowy aspects of our psyche, to the places where we are wounded. And when we come from that wounded place, we are not always acting in everybody's best self-interest. We are not our most beautiful selves. But heart space includes all of ourselves. So a soul-based relationship is going to shine light on everybody's darkness. A soul-based relationship will shine light on everybody's wounds. It's really powerful stuff. It's how we get healed. It doesn't have to be all ugly. It's like, oh, I see that pain. Let me pour some love on that. And so naturally, the ego, which is all like constricting and repressive and oppressive and doesn't want you to be in the light or be expanded or be basking in love, the soul is going to want to run from these relationships almost every time, like duh. But if we can stay in that soul container, the relationship is a sacred container, then we can bring forth, in the sacredness of that space, we can bring forth both our dark and our light aspects. And that dance, because it's a dance, that weaving, that is what's called grace. The grace of being in it together. So, where you can hit that stride in some relationships where it's just all up and out, everybody's stuff, but you're in it. You're holding each other. You are supporting each other to evolve. That's grace. You are going through so much. You've been through so much together, and the love has been, is still, and will always be flowing no matter what is up in the space. That's soul. That's grace. So, in that space, in the soul relationship container, we can own and accept and celebrate our so called differences. Because spaciousness, because in the heart space, inclusiveness, everything's in. And all those differences, anyway, they're just surface level perceptions. We're not really different at the core. The soul is always aware that underneath all of the quote unquote perceived differences is pure divine love that holds all of us together. Love, capital love, knows that we are all in this together, that we are all deeply connected. So then let's keep finding more ways to make more love. So back to the discomfort part for just a minute. There can be a lot of contrasting energy in the container of a soul relationship. Let me unpack that for you. Contrasting energy, seemingly conflicting perspectives, right? Heavy ego perspective is really attracted to the light of soul energy. So we can be in relationships where one of us is in heavy ego and one of us is coming from higher soul. Can still be a soul relationship for everybody involved. What that contrast of energy means is that there is going to be supercharged growth. So that heavy, dense consciousness or lack of consciousness, that heavy density will get cleared out by the higher virtues. The higher virtues being inclusiveness and love and compassion and generosity and joy. Yeah. So light dispels darkness. Love dispels hate. And it can be really rough in a relationship dynamic. It can also be really glorious to have that contrast, to be healed within that, to have our wounds recognized, to recognize and love on someone else's wounds, and to lift the relationship up into flourishing. What I've been taught is that it's the energies of the divine feminine. The energies of the mother, that Kundalini Shakti that is activating all of that cleansing that's happening in the container of the relationship. And all of that activation, anything the divine feminine animates, is always going to lead to expanded consciousness. That is the point. That is why we're here. And P.S., that's where the joy is. At the very least, that is where the satisfaction is. So, there can often be a period of instability and pain on the surface of the relationship before the bliss, the turbulence, before the expansion and the clarity set in. But the bliss, expansion, the clarity, it will set in. It'll come. The joy is innate. Yeah. So if you think you're in a soul relationship, rather than an ego-based relationship. So if you think you're in that soul relationship and things get tense, the healthy approach is going to be to just be with the temporary discomfort. Now, discomfort when you're in it can feel like it's never going to end. You want to know like when this is going to be over, how long. Don't know. But if you embrace the awareness that you're both here to root into, nurture, and nourish values of the heart, to live a heart-centered life, to create a heart-centered relationship. You can do it. Just dance with the discomfort a bit before you decide you have to bail out. This is a refinement process. There's a greater process here at work, and it can lead to so much beauty. Steady love always leads to so much beauty. So, just reminder as we close this perspective on relationship nourishment, the difference between ego and soul relationships. It's the difference between being in a relationship to try and validate or invalidate your worth versus love for the sake of love. It's so expansive. Who knows how it's going to turn out, but it all works for greater love. Love for the sake of love. Go for that. Go for the soul relationships. It's always there as a possibility for every one of us, for all of us, all the time.